This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And we're coming to you around the world on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network across Europe and Asia on Euro Radio TV and Radio X, and, of course, on iHeartRadio. If you'd like to check out the great programming we have available for you 24/7, 365 on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net. My guest this hour is Shirlee Hall. She has lived as a visionary, healer, author, teacher, and public speaker, giving to others what she has received. Her personal goal is self-mastery and a strong inclination to help humanity discover, as she has a new way to be open to the grander sources of energy, power, and love. There's a way to improve the human suffocation and to be and live otherwise on this earth. She affirms that man is a transitional being, ready to be consciously and physically a fire of truth that burns in the heart. She emphasizes in whatever she does that we have the innate ability to sing another song, run a new rhythm, and embrace the luminous, joyful, and sunny beings that we essentially are. Her website is www.behealedforever.com. And joining me now is Shirlee Hall. And Shirlee, welcome to the X-Zone.
Thank you so much, Rob. It's my pleasure.
Oh, I must tell you that I love the energy that I'm getting from you.
Good.
Yeah.
It's all about energy, right?
It certainly is. It certainly is. And, being a young man in the 60s, I wasn't part of the hippie movement. I was a little bit too young for that. But I do remember all, the good vibrations and all the other positive songs that the singers were coming out with. And then, of course, the hippies, make love, not war, give peace a chance. You had the protests against the Vietnam War. And I really think that the hippies were the start of the movement, but they were slightly ahead of their time.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I still have friends who are living out their understanding at the time, and that gives me pleasure to know that, that they haven't given up. I've often wondered, haven't you, where did all those people go?
Well, I'm married to one of them because my wife, at a very young age, hitchhiked to Woodstock.
Wow.
Yeah, and in fact, she is a very loving, peaceful person. She is a professional nurse, and she has worked in healthcare for many years. And she just retired today, as a matter of fact.
Congratulations.
I don't know about that. That means, all right, she has all this time now to think of more jobs for me to do at home when I get home from the studios.
No, she won't do that. No. Now she'll probably be able to help in even a grander way if that's possible.
Well, it is because we have 6 children, 10 grandchildren, and she is always busy with family matters. We love family, and family to us is very important because we believe that by showing the love, showing the intent, showing the proper way to be helpful to society, to open up your arms, open up your heart, smile at people, that this is a very important part of what we are to do in this transitional stage.
Exactly. And when I walk down the street, and I'm sure you've noticed the same thing, if you smile, some people act like they're almost shocked.
I know.
What's with her?
Exactly. My dad taught my brother and I to be chivalrous. You open doors for ladies. You pull a seat out when a lady goes to sit down. The lady enters the room. You stand up. And when we do this now, like, I don't care what other people think. I believe in my heart of hearts that this is the way to do it. And you're right. People look at you as if you have 3 heads, 4 tongues, 18 arms, and are spewing fire.
Yeah, I know. I have a couple other friends that do that, whether they're in a grocery store or wherever they go. They'll smile and they'll say a few comments to someone or compliment them. And you could tell they're grateful in many cases too, particularly the elderly. If you say something nice to them, it's just like they're in shock,
But they're in shock, but they recognize that they are being recognized and that they're a person, and it makes them feel good inside. Shirley, you and I have to take our first break. Please stand by. XO Nation, Shirlee Hall is my special guest of this hour. www.BeHealedForever.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and whatever you do, don't go away. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. And welcome back, everyone. Shirlee Hall is our special guest. www.BeHealedForever.com. And I guess the motto of today's show is all you need is love. Shirley, was your family background one of healers and helpers who guided you to do the great job and wonderful things that you're doing today?
In a broader sense, the grandest thing I could have ever done is reincarnate, or however you want to say that, drop into a body, into a form that lived with Millie and John Hall. My parents were so open, they were universal, and that in itself is healing. Even though when I was young, as a child, they went to church. But Dad taught the Kabbalah. They were open to everything. And they had prayer groups, meditation groups. This was way back when I was a kid, you know, and we lived in a 30-story building in Chicago, and it was wonderful. But Mom later discovered, actually, when they were visiting in the Philippines, she discovered that she had a healing power flowing through her. And at that time, you know, I just observed all these things, and they would take me, it'd be one extreme to another, meaning Kabbalah is quite a bit different than, let's say, going to, what shall I call that? An open meeting where hundreds, or actually thousands of people would attend. Catherine Kuhlman, I don't know if you ever heard of her. And when I was a kid, they often went, she was a healer, a famous healer. We would go there. And that's what made me really think. A lot of the people who arrived in wheelchairs, and you could tell they were really had serious physical problems, they were not healed. Often it was the person pushing the wheelchair. And this, you know, started all kinds of thoughts in my head. Why? And I started questioning everything. Why? And as a result of that, I studied all the world religions. I don't know if that's answering your question exactly, but it was healing living in an environment where everything was open and there was no fear. You could say how you felt. And that's very healthy. Not everyone has that.
Well, you know, I believe that not one of the major religious philosophies has all the answers. So I certainly appreciate the way that your parents, you know, looked around. They studied everything, looking for answers. And I think that any person who just focuses on one philosophy is doomed for failure.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought of them as being universal in their understanding, in their search, and I evidently was the same way, and everything just fell into place. I guess when we reach different stages in maturity, the right people, the right circumstances happen to us, and we wake up a wee bit more. You know?
Well, what's that old saying? When the student is ready, the teacher will come.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes the teacher is an awful event, you know, something that we judge at the time as negative, and it turns out to be a positive. So, right. But I'm thankful for that. I think I made a right choice in my parents.
Was it a choice or was it destiny?
That's a good way of looking at it. I really think we have a choice.
Yeah.
At a certain level of understanding. If you don't believe you have a choice, then you won't. But I believe I had a choice. And I thought, I'm not going to waste time. You know, I got to get to the chase, and that's what I did.
So tell me, did you train for the healing, teaching, and writing ministry that you offer these days?
No.
No way?
No.
It just, poof, happened.
No way. I would read just like other people do who love to read what they call the mysterious or the miraculous. I would read a lot, but it wasn't, well, I'll put it this way. I was always psychic as a kid, but so many of us who are psychic don't realize that. They think everybody's that way. And that's normal to you. Like I could see with my eyes closed. I could see if it's dark out or in the room. I had different things, very unusual, that I even didn't discuss with my parents because I thought that's the way they were. And so it wasn't until a challenge came in my life that I understood more about what I had taken for granted.
What was that challenge?
I had I laugh because it's sort of weird to talk about.
Excuse me just for a sec, Shirley. I've been doing this show 26 years now. 4 nights a week. 4 interviews a night. 5 nights a week. And there were times when I would do the show 7 days a week. I have heard so many things that nothing would surprise me or the listeners. You're amongst friends, so you need not fear anything.
Well, it's just sort of, in some ways, embarrassing. Meaning I had elective surgery on my lower abdomen, okay?
Sure.
And so back then, this was a long time ago. This was, now it's 46 years. That's a long time ago.
So you were way ahead of your time.
Right.
You're a visionary. You knew
right.
it. Okay, that's great. I applaud you.
Yes. Well, anyway, there I am. And they did the stitches on the outside at that time. Mm-hmm. And I was only home a few days, and I noticed that there was pain in the area. I started to get red streaks.
Right.
And, all the things that you don't want happening on your body.
Sounds like blood poisoning.
Well, I was all swollen. Then the lower abdomen it was really swollen. Gosh. Yeah, it was a mess. So it so happened at the same time that I had that elective surgery, I had a baby. Well, anyway, I realized I had to go to ER or call somebody, do something. I had to do something.
Sure, yeah.
And so what did I do? I decided this is 10 a.m. in the morning, and I know that because I had just given him a bottle. So what I did was go back to bed. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not a logical thing to do if you have an infection like that. And True. I knew I had a high fever.
Right.
And so I went back to bed. And I lay on my back. I put the baby next to me on the bed. Nobody was home. And what I did, though, was I put my hands over the area.
Right.
And I fell immediately unconscious. I say unconscious because I just remember putting my hands there. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing the time. And when I came to, it was 1 hour later. When I came to, there was no swelling, no red streaks, and something had created 2 openings on each end of like a 6-inch long incision. And all the infection had poured out or, drained out.
Sure.
And so, great. You don't have to go to the hospital.
Well, thank the good Lord, or whoever that whatever happened, and here you are today helping people.
Yeah, I didn't pray or anything. I just made, see, that's the thing. I made a decision. Mm-hmm. I don't want this.
Well, I'm going to share a story with you that I don't think I've ever shared on air with people. Years ago, about 15 years ago, my wife came back from work. She was working the evening shift, and she had been complaining about pains in her stomach for a couple of days. She came home and she said, I don't feel good. I felt her. She's running a fever and this and that. She said, I'm going to go to bed. I said, no, you're not. She said, I'm going to bed. I said, no, you're not. I'm going to take you to the hospital right now. She says, no, I'm going to bed. I said, listen, you have a choice. It's either I take you or I call 911. She said, all right, you take me. Take her to the emergency ward. And the nurse says, take her right into triage because she's got a high fever. And the nurse says, well, what do you think is wrong? I said, it's her appendix. Now, I'm not a doctor. I have no medical training. I've got a bit of first aid when I was in the police force. I used to teach first aid, but I'm not a doctor. Anyway, 2 days they run tests. On the 3rd day, you know what they discover? It was her appendix. And they told me if I would not have brought her in when I did, she would have died if she would have gone to sleep.
Oh, you're her savior. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
and I have never, like I said, considered myself a medical intuitive. I've never considered myself psychic. I've never considered myself a medium. I just consider myself a person who is very observant. And I have the uncanny ability to retain a lot of information. Anything that I read kind of goes into my mind's data bank, and when I need it, poof, it's right there. And I think
it comes.
And I think that this is what happened in this case. But people I talk to over the years say, no, you're a medical intuitive. No, you're a psychic. No, you're this, you're that, you're their thing. And I figured I'm just a plain, ordinary Joe. But in your case, that is truly miraculous.
Well, your case is miraculous, too. There's like a universal mind, and we can tap into that. But in my case, I decided consciously that I was not going anywhere. And who the heck would take care of the baby? All that was going through my mind. I thought, I just want to surrender this whole thing. So I surrendered without really thinking that much about it, just did it.
Yeah.
And that will do it in many cases where something drastic has to be done. A decision has to be made within us. There can't be any doubt. But the fact that you understood that's good.
I had a guest on the other night who was saying that if we just give our bodies a chance to regenerate, to recuperate, to fix itself, it will.
I agree, totally.
Yeah. Listen, you and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour, Shirley. Thank you so much for being with us. Great talking to you. And Exonation, when we come back on the other side of this news break, Shirley and I will continue our conversation. Shirlee Hall is a visionary, healer, author, teacher, and public speaker, and her website is www.behealedforever.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And don't forget, Exonation, if you'd like to sign the petition that we have at xzbn.net or thecupandsaucer.com to have Executive Director of MUFON, Jan Harzan, resign for allowing racism and racist remarks to go unpunished in MUFON, sign our petition. We're not going to let this go until until all changes are made and those responsible for the remarks are booted out of the UFO community. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. Shirlee Hall is our special guest, and before we get back to Shirley, I'd just like to read to you the preamble of the petition that we have. The name of the petition is Jan Harzan, Executive of MUFON, which is the Mutual UFO Network, must resign. In May 2017, the MUFON State Director for both Pennsylvania and Delaware and Inner Circle member John Ventry posted what could only be called racist rants to his private Facebook page. Several people reacted to it, suggesting that such opinions were appalling. MUFON's executive director and Inner Circle member, Jan Harzan, reacted with what was called a non-apology, attacking those who had reacted negatively, calling them haters, and then suggested that these haters might be worse than Ventry. The offensive posts, as well as the critical comments, were then removed. Harzan eventually announced that Ventry had been fired as state director for both states. The retraction came only after there had been more bad public relations for MUFON. You can listen to Kevin Randall's interview here on the X Zone Broadcast Network by going to XZBN and hitting Kevin's show. Not long after this, it was discovered that another member of the inner circle, J.Z. Knight, had, in a drunken rant, made other racially charged comments about the Jews, Mexicans, gays, Catholics, and organic farmers. Harzan, on learning this, ignored the severity of the comments, saying that if she had been a state director, he would have fired her. All three remain on the inner circle, and while it is suggested that this inner circle has no real influence over the workings of MUFON, other documentation, including the MUFON website, suggests otherwise. Now, given the slow reaction to Ventri's racist rants and the lack of real concern about such attitudes at the highest levels of the MUFON organization, as evidenced by Harzan's public comments about both Ventri and Knight, it is time to remove these high-ranking MUFON officials from positions of power and oversight. The problem is systemic at the top, and such attitudes can filter down through the organization. Rather than stand by and watch that happen, it is time to make a change. If you agree, please sign this petition. And the petition can be found at www.xzbn.net and www.thecupandsaucer.com. Shirlee Hall is our special guest, and during the commercial breaks, I have the opportunity of speaking to these fine guests that we have here on the X Zone. And one of the topics that we touched on that I thought we should share on air was spirituality. How did you phrase it, Shirlee?
I said what's lacking on this planet is that people have forgotten their true identity.
Right.
And this has to do with consciousness, with the divine consciousness.
Their spiritual identity. Self. Yeah. Why do you think that is, Shirlee?
It's been this way for thousands and thousands of years, because along comes somebody who has insight, and we've had many beautiful beings who have. They try to help people. They teach, they give their, like, you open your show, it says opinions. It's their opinions, but they're opinions that have worked, that have proven to be true and healing and loving and wise. And then what do humans do? They twist it. They change things to suit their conditioning and their programming. And it all just goes out the window. And so here we have all these religions, everything going that's not really working together. And so somehow people have to awaken. And this is one of the things I've been doing on Facebook and LinkedIn, just putting simple couple little sentences here and there, trying to ignite imagination, because imagination is limitless, because I believe that we're supposed to evolve as not only physically, but spiritually. If we don't, it's going to be the same nonsense for centuries, for thousands of more years, like you say, if the planet lasts, Earth itself. Something has to be done. And if maybe more of us would speak up and use our imagination and say, what if, and that we can't, I'm not talking about just retaining a youthful appearance and remaining healthy and your a good mind and agility. Many of us are doing that naturally, and some, using technology and other means.
Sure.
But the point is, something has to be done. And I'm using my imagination, but it must be memory too. I really think of Earth like a lab, and that we're here to go from that simple consciousness and move up the kingdoms. I don't think we're a finished product. We're far from it.
God, I hope not.
We're far from it. And so, I've always had visions, all right?
Yes.
But I don't want to say so what, but there's a lot of us who have visions, but and amazing things happen to them, but yet a good percent of those people get ill, they suffer, terrible things happen. So something needs to be done. And what I think needs to be done is that we need to bring a superior consciousness, not only in our conscious mind, but be aware of our body. In other words, the miracle can happen within our cells. Just like, people all the time, if let's say they're angry, often they'll feel it in a part of their body. Like I remember there was somebody in my life that's causing me a lot of grief, and I could hardly move my arms up, high if I wanted to. And then I asked myself, okay, I didn't lift anything. I didn't hurt myself to cause this. What is the cause? Then it flashed through my mind, which I consider it, the flash being my true self, suggesting, hey, this individual and his nastiness is getting to you. Just drop it, be detached and drop it. Soon as I did that, arm's fine, and I've seen that. I guess what I'm trying to say, I could talk for hours on the subject, is that we have to imagine ourselves greater than what we see in the mirror. We're so grand. There's this light, and I've had proof of it. Ever since a little girl, I've seen the light behind not only humans, but animals and plants. Everything has this wonderful blueprint of light. If we would bring more light into our minds and our hearts, and honor the body. I mean, now with guns, people shooting, it's just the opposite of everything that every enlightened being has ever said.
And it seems that the enlightened beings throughout history have been persecuted, been laughed at.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It is. Let me ask you this. Taking a look at the world today, the trouble, the strife, the wars, the famine, the weather, the way that we're mucking up the air that we breathe. Look what we're doing to Mother Earth. It doesn't take a genius to understand that the more oil we take out of the earth, the more earthquakes we have. And I don't know why people haven't thought of this before. Like, hello, turn the light on. We are raping Mother Earth. And it ticks me off to no extent because we can do other things besides extracting oil or, fracking and everything else we're doing to this planet of ours.
We're on the same page.
What would
Exactly.
Exactly.
I think it's just that people don't think. I mean, that's quite an indictment, but most people don't think. They're too busy in their own little worlds and they're suffering, and it's just going to go away. Or maybe they think we have to all reach the very bottom before something comes and saves them. We save ourselves. Frankly, we save ourselves. And it bothers me. Everything about animals, the whole thing across the board, that people can be insensitive. And perhaps, like a lot of people, friends will ask me, why do you think all this is going on? And I said, well, sometimes, and I'm hoping this is what it is, sometimes things really have to get ugly, and painful before a soul awakens and people really begin to get it, There's so many people out there, including myself, everyone. We would love to have change, but what kind of change do you want?
But isn't it a fact that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem? Like, there are way too many Monday morning quarterbacks in this world.
I know.
It's like this hatred between the world and Islam. Not everybody in Islam is a member of ISIS. Not everyone wants war. There are millions and millions and millions and millions who want peace, who want to live with their neighbors, who want to prosper with their neighbors. My neighbors where I live are Muslims. I'm going to tell you something. They are the sweetest, kindest, most generous people, family-orientated, that I have ever met. And,
I believe
people say, oh, well, wherever there's a mosque, that's a sign of conquering. No, wherever there's a mosque, there's a sign of worship. You know, it's whatever happened to live and let live, respect, communicate, learn from each other. Whatever happened to those days?
Well, perhaps people need to Google brotherhood and ask the question, how do all the religions feel about brotherhood? And I did that many years ago, and by golly, they all say the same thing, that we should treat other people like we would like to be treated.
Well, that's one of the golden rules in the Bible. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I've, mentioning the Bible, I've really studied the Bible. I've studied most of the religions, and they're basically saying the same thing. So that's why I say humanity, I think, is still in its infancy because it hasn't discovered its true identity yet. It's covered over.
But when we realize, when the rest of the world realizes what you and I and so many people that we have on this show and that listen to the show realize, what happens if it's too late?
That's a good question. I'm hoping that this just isn't a lab where the same awful stuff keeps continuing. I'd like to believe that there will be a golden age, but it's not just going to appear because it's a certain year. It's going to appear because the consciousness here has evolved. We have to grow up. We have to evolve. We have to understand what we really are, and that, like in my one book, 3 Persuasions, I write about the different levels of consciousness.
Well, let's talk about that when we come back from this break, all right, my dear? Exonation, Shirlee Hall is our guest, www.BeHealedForever.com, and Shirlee and I will be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Shirlee Hall is our special guest this hour, Exonation, www.BeHealedForever.com. First of all, Shirlee, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure having you on, and as I said to you during the break, we have to have you on because there's still so much to do. And, we need to do our very best to try and get people to understand. And I think I know for a fact it's people with you, your heart, and your experience that we can all make a difference.
I know, and it really, for most people, it doesn't happen just instantly where you get it. It's just like, I'm sure you've had this experience like I have. You'll read a book and then you put it away. And years later, maybe you'll pick it up and then you'll read the same sentence and you say, oh my God, that's what that means. I get it, But all we can do is be an example and mention what works. And just, if only people could love one another, if only those, for instance, those of us who love our animals, if we could only, love humans that way. And I know a lot of people ask me, how can you forgive people who have hurt you and abused and so forth? And I always say to them, if those people were whole, meaning, felt good about themselves,
Right.
they would never have done those things or said those things. And it's the wounded that harm. So there obviously are a lot of wounded people on this planet. And somehow, I know many are looking for hope. Perhaps the messages, we're giving, one sentence to maybe something will be triggered. I hope so, because we are one family, whether we like the idea or not, regardless of what color our skin or religion or non-religion we have. We're all one. We all came from the same place.
That's right, and we occupy the same space and time. We occupy the same planet. And what I believe that what one person does, there is the ripple effect. Like when a pond is nice and calm, you toss one pebble in, it starts a ripple, you toss another pebble in, and the ripples interact. And I really believe that that is what happens each and every moment on this planet. Before we went to the break, you were talking to us about one of your books. Continue about that.
Well, I have 7 books, actually. The one is called The Three Persuasions.
Right, that's it.
That I really wrote to myself, meaning it was one day, that particular book maybe was 4 years ago, I'll make a guess. Okay. I seem to be writing one a year lately, but that, you hear about oneness, you hear about all these things, how you continue to live when you drop your body, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you hear about all these things that just sound so magical. But one afternoon, I wasn't meditating or anything. I just felt, I remember I was going through the house and I decided to sit down for a minute. I wanted to think about something. And I can think standing up too, but I happened to just sit down.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, I was aware of myself. Let's see if I can find words for it. I was this golden light. And I still could think. In other words, I still had a mind that was working. I could still feel. I was still an individual energy, but I was a part of this immensity, this golden light. And I can't, usually if I have an experience, it lasts. Like, it's not just like a flash. It lasts for 15 minutes, sometimes a half an hour. And I thought, if only people understood this, that we don't lose our identity when we physically die, that this is our true identity, but we've forgotten it. If only more people would awaken to this beauty and wonder and truth and majesty that we really are, instead of so many just living above the level of an animal. Sometimes I think an animal has more together than we do.
Animals do. Do you know why? Because animals know unconditional love.
Exactly.
People don't. Most people don't, I should say.
Yeah.
I will love you if you buy me this, I will do this. And animals, God, I love animals. I've got 3 little dogs at home. I did work for the SPCA as a communications director. I love animals. And I love the people who truly love animals and do things for animals because they get it. They truly get it. And when you go home, like, gosh, I've walked to the mailbox, come home, and it's like, wow, you've been gone for days. How are you? Boy, did we miss you. We love you, Dad.
Yeah. And they don't care what you look like.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Right now, all I have, and he's everything, is a Manx cat. You know, Manx doesn't have a tail, and he's Manx and Maine Coon. So he's a huge, long-haired male cat.
Yeah, they're the kind of cats that go, here, doggy, 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 come here, dog.
Yeah. Well, I got him from a shelter. You would laugh. I bring smiles, talking about smiles, how we opened up with that subject. I bought him a pet stroller because I live along a river and I can walk for miles, which I do. And of course, there's people on bikes and they're walking, running, everything. So I put him in this stroller, this majestic cat, and we walk down the river walk. Well, sometimes people almost fall off their bike. They can't believe it, and they're so happy. And everybody gets off or stops, and then they put their head right up next to, the net. He is in there securely because we have coyotes along our river.
Oh, my God.
Well, anyway, people speak in other languages to him. It's really funny. I mean, they're foreigners. They'll speak in their native tongue. And then they'll say to me in English, oh, he understands us. But such joy, an animal. And I do remote healing sessions. And he knows. He knows. And he comes and sits with me in this special chair. And he'll sit, this heavy, very large cat. Baba is his name. And Baba puts his chest next to mine and his arms against my chest. And he closes his eyes. And for the period of the remote, he's in bliss.
Yeah.
People can make noise outside. I'm in a condo, so you can hear noises, but not him. He just stays focused. And some people who are real sensitive, they'll pick up on him that this big cat is sending them healing vibes. So we work together as a team. And so animals are something else.
They truly are. They truly are. I believe that they're the Creator's gift to humanity, and it really bothers me to see any animal get abused. We did a big special years ago on the aquariums and how they abuse the mammals. And, I don't think any animal should be caged. I don't believe in zoos. If you want to take, not especially today with the internet, you don't have to go to a zoo to understand. And anybody who goes big game hunting, I think they should be thrown in jail and let the animals have fun with them.
Well, I go along with that, meaning I just cringe. I'm on all these lists, and you receive these emails telling where there's abuse going on, and I just can't stand it. And I have a lot of friends the same way. It's not only the animals, it's the earth, it's people.
Exactly.
It's abuse. Abuse across the whole planet. And again, I go back to because people don't understand they're really these high spiritual beings that are totally covered with these coats of ignorance and conditioning and programming, and people have forgotten who they truly are. And it's pathetic. And so shows like yours and, the few words I say here and there, if it gets out there, and others like us, there are a lot, like you said, there are a lot of people like us. I don't know exactly what we are to do next, but we've got to do something more than we're doing.
Well, I think we're doing it by getting the message out there, because the reason for this show has always been to make the difference in one person's life each and every show. That's all. If I can make a positive change in two people's lives, I'm ecstatic. But
that's scripture.
Yeah. This is my way of being part of the solution.
Well, it's beautiful. It's good.
Well,
And you've been doing it, what, 12 years?
26 years.
Oh, 26. Oh, here's bad. Not bad, but you're like me. I've been doing it, but on a much more, not secretive, but I've kept my life pretty quiet, you know. I haven't gone out there.
Well, you're doing a good job tonight, I'll tell you that. And I want to thank you ever so much. We've just run out of time. But Shirlee, we'll be in touch. We'll have you back on. And Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about Shirlee, her books, and much more, visit her website at www.BeHealedForever.com. That's www.BeHealedForever.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern from our broadcast center in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.